What's my fantastic squad? It's your boy SatAttack. When y'all see that title, man, y'all see the length of this video too, man. 53-minute long video, man. But someone commented asking me to react to it. I'm gonna put the comment right here. So hey, like I said, man, comment down below which video I'm gonna react to next, and I will react to. I don't care how long it is. Hopefully it's just not like 3-4 hours, 2 hours type of shit. But it's like 53 minutes, man. Get y'all snacks, whatever y'all want, cause I got my protein shake right here, man. Cause it's about to be a long ass video. My only concern about this video is if it gets copyright, cause they got almost 4 million subscribers. I don't know if they're gonna mess with me. And it's true crime documentary, so I don't know. I don't know if they're gonna mess with me react to the video. So, but hey, hopefully, cause I'm about to watch this shit for like the next hour, so hopefully this don't get blocked, because if it does, I'm gonna be pissed, bro.
They're especially concerned.
I might have to end up putting on Instagram or something
about her safety.
She doesn't know why her daughter.
The family of a North Texas mother who disappeared explains why they're especially concerned about her safety.
She doesn't know why her daughter was here on Wednesday or what happened to her. She says she does know that Reyes would never abandon her own son.
So just as soon as I think I've got it right, something else gets thrown in where I'm like, wait a minute, who's this guy? So now I've got another person.
Police say that they have no suspects or persons of interest at this time.
Prisma, we're doing all we can for you. We're trying to find you. We love you. We're doing all we can to try to bring you home.
In 2019,
Wait, that subscribe button though. Disclaimer of liability.
26-year-old Prisma Reyes stood idly outside.
All the different pertaining to the video present for intended purpose only. Okay.
2019, 26-year-old Prisma Reyes stood idly outside a parking garage elevator in Mesquite, Texas. She was talking on the phone while appearing slightly concerned as she hovered absently all by herself, walking back and forth, her gait a bit unstable. She seemed to abruptly end the call, and then Prisma walked off the screen. What may appear to be unremarkable footage is incredibly important for our shocking case today. This is the last existing recording ever taken of Prisma. Once she disappeared behind that dark corner, the young woman and mother of a then 6-year-old boy has never been seen nor heard from. Mother of a then 6-year-old boy has never been seen nor heard from ever.
That's crazy, bro. Damn.
What is up, Ewu crew? We will be delving into Prisma Reyes' disappearance. The video showed her talking on the phone, but who was Prisma talking to? Whose apartment complex was she hesitating outside?
I don't know what did I didn't pay attention to what year it said, but like for there to be that many cameras around nowadays, I'm assuming it's not nowadays. It's probably like 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago, but still there's still a lot of cameras. So for not to get caught again.
Whose apartment complex was she hesitating outside of? And why was such a mature and responsible young woman acting completely and totally out of character? Today, we will be trying to answer those questions by digging deep and speaking with some of the people closest to the mysterious case of one individual who to this day, more than a year after her disappearance, remains a complete...
A year? This was dropped 2 years ago, so 3 years, just say 4 years ago. Still, 4 years ago, there's still hella cameras around, so for her to not get caught again, like, that's crazy.
Enigma to the world. Let's get into the case. Prisma was a former National Guard member and paralegal who had recently started a new job at a local car dealership called 123 TX Auto.
Okay.
On Wednesday, April 17th,
2019, okay. 4 years ago. Yeah, 4 years ago.
19. She woke up, made a few phone calls, and dropped off her son Dominic at the babysitter before reporting to work in the morning, just like any other day. However, she eventually took a lunch break around noon, and that's when things took a strange turn. We know that Prisma headed to a restaurant called E-Bar Tex-Mex for her meal, but as it turns out, she wouldn't be eating alone. There, she met up with an ex-boyfriend named Ryan to chat over the drinks and food.
Suspect number
This
one right
footage shows Prisma seated at the bar alone while taking a phone call as she waited for Ryan to arrive. At some point in the lunch, Ryan got up and exited the establishment, but strangely, Prisma remained at the restaurant for a few more hours, apparently alone, until she was involved in a verbal disturbance and was asked to leave the premises. It is confirmed that the bartender present had cut Prisma off and stopped serving her drinks. Could she have been getting drunk on her lunch break? We can't know for sure, but either way, it soon came to be that Prisma would never even return to complete her workday after all. Even stranger, during that same time...
okay. She got cut off.
Her workday after all. Even stranger,
She was
during...
there for a few hours. How long is a lunch break? It's not a few hours, though. I don't know that for damn sure. She was there for a few hours, so... Yep.
That same
She
time
didn't have no
block,
intentions going back.
phone records show that Prisma had a 52-minute phone call with her
long is this
babysitter.
video?
The two never had long-winded conversations like this. In fact, they usually only lasted 10 minutes.
Okay.
Some speculate that Prisma left the bar to go have this phone call in her car before re-entering the establishment later, when the aforementioned verbal altercation occurred. But it is unclear what really took place. However, not long after leaving Ebar, Prisma was involved in yet another odd incident. This time, it was a road rage squabble. It is reported that Prisma actually pulled a gun on the girls in the other vehicle during this altercation, but fled the
she acting crazy.
scene before responding police officers arrived.
Prisma.
After this, Prisma's path gets a little hazy. It seems that she continued driving away from the restaurant, presumably towards her workplace or maybe even her home, before ultimately doubling back in the direction she had just come from. The direction of the restaurant, and more importantly, the direction of her ex-boyfriend Ryan's apartment. It wouldn't be until 4 months later, in August, that authorities would release this surveillance footage from the Olympus at Ross apartment complex where Ryan resided. It is important to note that allegedly he was not there at the time. The clip gives us some insight into Prisma's last
He wasn't there, of course.
documented actions on that April evening. Authorities knew to look at this location for footage because the very next day after Prisma went missing, her vehicle was discovered at the complex. Security footage shows Prisma parking her 2017 white Jeep Wrangler on the side of the road before quickly hurrying out to follow a car into the restricted parking garage, running so that she could manage to get through the gate in time. Then comes the clip in front of the elevator. And just like that, Prisma was gone.
That's crazy.
Police later identified the individual Prisma was speaking to on the phone in those pivotal moments. But after interviewing him, they cleared him as a suspect and admitted with reluctance that he had not been able to provide any useful knowledge.
Who was it?
One witness who claimed to have been inside the parking garage at the same time as Prisma came forward and said that the young woman had been crying while on the elevator. Another witness claimed they saw her on the top floor of the parking garage of the apartment building, crying next to a silver car with its trunk open. Although Prisma was never seen or caught on tape leaving the apartment building, authorities have determined that there are numerous blind spots where it would be possible to exit the premises without being monitored. It wasn't until 9:30 that Wednesday night that Prisma was reported missing. It was actually her babysitter who made the official call, after growing concerned that the young mother hadn't arrived to pick up her little boy. As per the caretaking arrangement, the babysitter, who also had a young son in the same school as Prisma's boy, would take the two kids to school and then bring them back to her house when class let out. Prisma would always pick her son up around 7:30 p.m. The babysitter even confirmed that they had spoken around 3 or 4 p.m. that day during Prisma's extended lunch break, stating, "She was okay. We were talking about her job. So, as the hours ticked by with no sign of the mother, the babysitter, who is also said to be a family friend, knew something was very wrong. She described Prisma saying, quote, "Her child is the most important thing in her life." Interestingly, while the babysitter was initially willing to help the family during the investigation to find Prisma, she has since changed her phone number and seems to no longer be open to discussing the case.
Why?
Prisma's family and friends were completely shocked and distraught upon learning that the bright young woman had been reported missing. After hearing the news, those close to Prisma began frantically raking their minds for any clues or strange behavior that Prisma may have exhibited during their final interactions
She pulled out a gun
with
on
her.
a road rage.
Her mother, Lilia Peralta,
Wow.
told CBS that she communicated with Prisma at noon on Wednesday, but that the conversation was completely mundane, with Lilia simply warning Prisma to watch out for the dangerous storms that had been forecast.
that's so
Prisma had
funny.
also spoken with some friends that morning about her son and the approaching Easter holiday she was excited to celebrate.
Damn, what the fuck?
Some reported that the only
Okay.
thing odd about the day's conversation was that Prisma, who had gotten to work early and parked in a particular spot, had complained about being unfairly berated by a fellow employee who was angry that Prisma had taken her preferred spot to park. Prisma apparently communicated this frustrating encounter to those she spoke with later that morning. This brief fight makes it a little easier to understand why Prisma may have chosen to blow off her new job and not return after her lunch break.
What?
But
Just
still,
because someone took her parking spot? What? That's not even
to
reasonable.
blow off her new job and not return after her lunch break. But still, Prisma had abandoned her paralegal path to work as a receptionist at the used car dealership. And so this job must have had some incentive for her to stay. What's more, those who really knew Prisma have said she would have never made such a thoughtless and rash decision on a whim. She would have had another job lined up before abandoning this one in order to support herself and her young son. We were lucky enough to speak with Dan Fuchs, Prisma's stepfather, one-on-one about the disappearance and the impact it has had on Prisma's loved ones. Dan told us a little about how he came into his stepdaughter's life and what kind of person Prisma was.
I came into her life when her mother and I met. She was 4 years old, I think. She was living in Mexico with her grandmother, or Abuelita. Through her young age and teenage years and young adult years and that, when she was a child, she was just very outgoing, straightforward. She wanted, kind of independent, really.
Hey, these captions is hella off, bro. Turn them
Independent. She's still extremely, focus-minded, and she knew what she wanted out of life, and that's what she was going to get. She was going to work her way to get to it. She put herself through college. While she was pregnant, she put herself through college.
Bad. My bad.
Long.
Is this shit working now? That shit working. We good.
With everything else, before her visa expired, she became a U.S. citizen. She was a very outgoing she's a very outgoing young lady.
Dan may not have been Prisma's biological father, but he was the only dad she ever knew. And he was always there for her to provide guidance and support.
Real one.
Yeah, her biological father, from what I was told, died in a car accident right after she was born in Mexico. And throughout...
Okay, so I'm not even gonna hit on the real dad. I thought real dad just stepped out, but hey.
her whole life, between her two brothers, and her other sister, I was the only father that they ever knew.
When Dan found out that Prisma had been reported missing, he couldn't believe his sweet stepdaughter had really just vanished into thin air. He says the whole family was questioned, but to no avail.
I mean, everybody involved all the way around, myself, her mother, other family, and everybody, as far as I know, the police looked at all of us. The night of the disappearance, the police department ended up contacting me at 10:30 that night. And they asked me if I had seen her. I'm like, no, I hadn't seen her in a couple, probably quite a few weeks now. So I just spoke to her a couple weeks, a week or two ago, but that's about it. I was like, it just seems really strange, I was like, I thought I was like dreaming or something like that, I spoke to
yeah, it's gotta be the worst phone call. I'm just thinking about, never, hopefully. That's gotta be the worst phone call, bro. I know his stepdad, but he's pretty much a father figure, so pretty much your daughter, you get that phone call, she's missing type shit, like, that's gotta be the worst fear.
Brother,
as a parent.
Day, I guess they had found out about it when the school had contacted her mother because her son wasn't in school or something like that morning. I think
it was, my bad.
That contacted.
My bad. Bring it back.
I guess they had found out about it when the school had contacted her mother because her son wasn't in school or something like that morning. I think it was.
Looking back on that devastating day, Dan says that he did find it a bit odd that the babysitter didn't reach out to anyone in the family to try to find Prisma before taking it to the authorities.
Nobody tried to contact me. The first contact
So we're suspecting the babysitter now? What's going on? Wait, the babysitter? Hey, that is true though. Like I was thinking that as a sus too, cause before I call the cops, I'm gonna go through every step to trying to figure out where she at, you know what I'm saying? Like calling the parents, everyone that she knows, who she could be with, type shit. Like going straight to authorities is crazy.
The police department contacted me.
Cause just because she didn't show up that night, don't mean she's not out like doing her own thing. You know what I'm saying? Like with friends, parents, or something like that.
That's another person that's in
going straight to authorities is crazy.
Suspects in my own eyes. I would think that she had Lilia's phone number. I can't say for sure whether she does or not, or did or not.
Today, almost 2 years later, Dan has never given up the fight to find Prisma, and he's recently been working.
So my bad. So this, please tell me it's a closed case. Hopefully they find something out.
In tandem with 2 reporters from a channel called Red Rum Media. The husband-wife duo has grown close to Prisma's family as they work to further the investigation.
Please tell me they find out what actually happened. I'm not about to sit here 53 minutes.
The case to the public eye through their Undetected podcast. We spoke with Kaylee, a former licensed private investigator and one half of the Undetected team, about what this process has been like and what sort of information they've been able to uncover.
Within days of her going missing, I found out about her going missing right away. And I just so happened to decide to start a Facebook group and see if maybe we could get the word out. So I was just hoping maybe it would help. And I ended up kind of, posting things like the CCTV video and just following up with local news there in Dallas and trying to see what was going on there.
Shit already low battery? Like, what? I know I gotta change my battery though. I need to go to Apple Care.
Seemed like nothing was really going on. So I ended up contacting her family a few months later and trying to help them from there. But in the beginning, I had just come across the case and felt that it wasn't getting the attention that it deserved or did. And it kind of seemed like her family just needed someone to help them get the attention out there that their daughter deserved, but they weren't getting it. I was just trying to fill that void a little bit.
It was.
So that's gotta be even worse, you know what I'm saying? Like I said earlier, getting that phone call, like your daughter or your son is missing and shit, that's gotta be the worst. And not knowing what actually happened, knowing that they might still be out there wherever, like 2 years later, you're still trying to find his daughter or whatever, still out there, like you don't know what happened. She like just going like in an instant, like what the fuck? Like tell me so I have a closure, you know what I'm saying? Like my boy, my dad's stepdad, still got hope that she's still alive probably, bro. But having that closure,
long before Kaylee got in contact.
I don't know if that would be better or not, but like if I'm thinking about the stepdad. Would it be better if he found out his daughter's dead, or still have that little hope? You know what I'm saying? Like, cause it's been 2 years and she said he's still trying to find her. Like, it's been 2 years. She just thin air just disappeared. So I don't know, bro. I feel like closure is the best thing. Like, if she did, like, just like.
With Prisma's
like
family to discuss a strange
get through
event that had brought attention to the missing person's Facebook page she had made about Prisma.
Cause having that hope, and it's, I mean, I don't know, bro. I'm trying to think. Would I rather, like, of course. That's tough. I don't know, bro. What would y'all rather have? That little hope or having that closure? Cause it's been 2 years and you don't know what the fuck happened to her. Like, you thinking about, like...
She went missing April 17th of 2019. And in November of that year, so a few months later, there was a kind of like a big explosion on social media on the page that we had started. And people were asking if we had heard about some woman who had ran into a Walmart not very far away from where Prisma was missing. And they were asking if we knew anything about the person, because there was this big elaborate story that someone had posted on Facebook.
Okay.
This lady, I guess, ran from the back of the parking lot from a car, and she was trying to get away from this vehicle and ran into a Walmart. And people were saying that it looked like Prisma. And people were saying, look, she fits this person. She says she's been gone maybe, since April. She doesn't know. She had been confused and she was kind of disheveled. So I tracked down the dispatch audio from the area, and I was able to kind of confirm some information. I kind of did some research on my own on the family side. I'm like, has the family said anything? Do they even know anything? And they hadn't posted anything, and Dan Hughes, her stepfather, he's always been very vocal, especially with updates and trying to find her. And when I realized they hadn't put anything out there, that's when I contacted him, and I just said, hey, this is what I do. I'm the one that created this page, and I want to let you know, if you ever need an outlet for anything, let me know, and I can post what you want, because there's multiple sides to the story, and people kind of take what'll sell, and they run with that sometimes. Okay. And sometimes that can get someone dismissed. Through that conversation, I didn't want to bring that page to hear about this woman at Walmart without ever talking to them. And once I kind of gained this trust through that conversation, I was like, hey, like, I haven't seen you say anything about this, but I came across this, and having this page, people have alerted me of this person. Do we know if this is Prisma? Did you even know? And they had no idea that this woman even came forward, that there was a woman that was unknown and unidentified at the time. No one had alerted them. Law enforcement, nothing. So I worked with them, and we ended up getting the mother, Lilia, to go down to the station with one of her friends. And after a few days of trying to determine if that was Prisma, we finally found out that it was not. I didn't feel like they were even being informed in a way that they should be by law enforcement. And that's where I kind of stepped in and said, hey, how can I help you?
Although that lead didn't pan out, Kaylee soon dug far deeper into the case, more determined than ever to get to the bottom of things after beginning correspondence with Prisma's family. One of the things we were most interested in learning from Kaylee concerned a recent interview she had conducted with the father of Prisma's child, a man named Arturo. His question, father of Prisma's child.
Father of Prisma. Okay. I was confused. I thought the father died, but this is her.
A man named Arturo.
Stepdad.
His questionable
not stepdad, baby dad.
Past with Prisma and their notorious disputes over child support led many online theorists to point the finger of blame right at him. But Kaylee's interview aimed to show a different perspective. A fairer representation of Arturo's response to these accusations.
It had even gotten to the point where he had been harassed, and he had gotten some not so nice messages and kind of,
expected,
insults thrown his way. Law enforcement hasn't put out any kind of...
as expected, like, people is gonna point fingers at somebody, you know what I'm saying? Everyone got their own detective Twitter fingers, so everyone's gonna have their own opinion, and
update. So speculation builds, especially when you have a year or more without any kind of official update. People start to try to fill in those voids again. He didn't deserve that kind of attention. If anything, he's one of the people that's been helping me and my partner Sam try to figure out where Prisma is. He's been one of the most imperative pieces that we've had over the last month.
Online sources report that on May 24th, 2019, just over a month after Prisma was last seen, Arturo filed for emergency custody of his son. Prisma's family was quoted as saying, "He has never had anything to do with him, nor paid support, but all of a sudden he wants his son since Prisma is no longer with us." We asked Dan to elaborate on this dispute.
As I said, when we were in court over where my grandson should be staying at, I was put up on the stand and asked directly, straight out, Laurel, I think he should be. I said, well, at this point in his life, with everything going on, the only family he knows, his grandmother or his aunts, his uncle, me, that's it. We're the only family he knew.
Both Kaylee and Dan told us that although Arturo's past relationship with Prisma wasn't perfect, they could tell that he was trying to be there for his son and do what was right in light of this confusing and tragic situation. We asked Kaylee if the child support feud was the only evidence with which people were attempting to pin Arturo with this crime.
People found out that Prisma and Arturo had some sort of dispute when Prisma was pregnant, and they were living together at the time. And I don't know 100% what happened. There's his side, her side, and the truth somewhere in between. But it's said that he threw her out, and she was about 6 months pregnant or so.
What?
And
he threw her out and she... What? Well, that is cold, but 6 months down.
I think people see some of the things, and they take it, and they run with it. And, Dominic is, I think he's 7 now, almost 8. And he is not... Arturo is not a perfect man. He is not, nobody is. And he'll tell you, hey, I made mistakes. So be honest about it, and he'll tell you. He's continuing. He didn't benefit from her disappearance at all. It actually just makes things a little bit more difficult for him, as far as I understand. If we can clear the air in any way, that's all we're trying to do, and kind of give everybody a fair shake, just as everyone in the case deserves it. There's far more people that people should be interested in that they don't even know exist in this thing.
Upon further research, we found reports that Arturo and Prisma broke up when she was 3 months pregnant, and family says around that time, he wasn't very involved in their son's life. Still, Dan says he sees Arturo every now and then these days because of Dominic. And although the past can't be changed, the man seems to be building a healthy relationship with Prisma's loved ones and even helping with the investigation.
Prisma's my daughter, even though she's not my biological daughter. When she got pregnant with my grandson, I don't know what transposed between the two of them, but I didn't, at that time, a man kicking a young lady out or whatever it was, whatever their situation was, that she was pregnant and everything already, I didn't really have, real good thoughts of him. And of course, he's matured quite a bit now, but between that and then not really wanting to have any contact with his son or anything as such, I didn't really hold a whole lot of respect for him. But, we're working on getting along, so.
As Prisma and Arturo's son Dominic was discussed in our conversations, we found ourselves wondering how the little boy was handling almost 2 years without his mother. Dan told NBC, he's so intelligent for a 6-year-old, but he's having a hard time understanding what's going on.
Understandable. He don't know what's going on. 6 years. He was 4 years ago. I said 4 years. 4 years old when she disappeared. No, yeah, he's not gonna know. Like, when he grows up and sees it, like, her to disappear, bro. Hopefully this video has like an ending, like what happened to her. Footage of missing woman reviews, chilling mystery. Oh, it's still a fucking mystery? Hopefully. Cause that's gonna, like, that's what I'm saying. Not having the closure, cause most likely she gone, bro. You probably never gonna see her again unless she's dead and her body just floats, like, gets recovered or something like that. But other than that, bro, you're probably not gonna see. It's been 2 years and she just disappeared like that. That's what I'm saying. I feel like it'd be better if they knew what happened and who did it type shit, you know what I'm saying? Like,
he keeps asking for his mother. He knows something is wrong.
They don't even know.
But
like,
we're trying to just keep everything as normal
happened.
as we can for him. Dan told us more about this sad situation.
Well, we all agreed that nobody would say nothing. And when we were in court, the judge had even ordered that he not be not be made aware of what's going on just yet. It may have been Arturo, it may have been Arturo's spouse or girlfriend or whatever she may be. One of them two let it slip. Then Dominic came up to me one day when he came over with his uncle, and he said, he was asking me about it. And I says, well, so I told him, I says, well, yeah, I'm doing all I can to try to find her and everything else. He said, okay. And then a couple more minutes, he wanted to chit-chat a little bit, a couple little things there, and he says, I really don't want to talk about it anymore. I don't want to speak of it right now. I'm like, okay, whenever you're ready, let me know.
Dan and Kaylee's descriptions gave us a better idea of what one of the men from Prisma's life, Arturo, was like. But there was someone else in this case who demanded attention and inspection. Ryan,
I never
the guy who wasn't at the scene knows, like, the ex. Come on. He should have been prime suspect number one. It's literally his building. He knows all the blind spots. Supposedly he wasn't at the spot, but he knows the blind spot. So, like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I met him. She would never allow me to physically meet him. There's been a couple times that I heard him in the background on the telephone or whatnot. To me, it seemed kind of disturbing. This is only my opinion. A man at his age, hanging out with people that are 20 years his junior, give or take. I had a bit of
20 years. What the fuck that mean? He's dating someone 20 years
problem
younger.
With that, but he seemed like a smart guy from what I heard from him and everything else in the background. From what she told me his jobs were, it seemed like he was pretty much, pretty stable person and everything.
We asked Kaylee if her team had managed to make contact with Ryan.
We have not, no. That's been something that we want to do. We know all about it.
Come on. At least the other baby daddy's actually helping. This dude, not even, like, you can't even contact him. Sus. Red flags. Red flags.
But we have not been able to actually make contact.
Apparently, Ryan had claimed an alibi for the night that Prisma disappeared. As well, there are theories that the two of them had an argument during their lunch. We inquired if it was true that Ryan was out of town the night that Prisma went missing, and what Kaylee said about his alibi is interesting, to say the least.
What do you consider out of town? Like, okay, if someone says, this is my question on a lot of people last night. When someone says you're out of town, what do you expect from someone? You expect them to be a few hours away, right? I found out through multiple different sources that he was just, a city away, a town away. He was within 10 miles of the house.
Dan also...
Another red flag pointing to my boy. 10 miles in 10 minutes. Come. 10 miles, you go to...
So weighed in on Ryan's reported activity that fateful night.
Here's another kicker about that case. Supposedly, Ryan had a date that night. I have talked to plenty about that case. Supposedly, Ryan had a date that night. I have talked to plenty.
What that night?
About that case. Supposedly, Ryan had a date that night.
Oh, date.
I have talked to plenty of guys that I know they don't like to clean themselves up or nothing. Even these nasty little people said that if they had a date that night, they'd have gone home, taken a shower, put on fresh clothes before they went anywhere. Seems kind of odd that he never went back home to change his clothes that he's had on all day and not get back till the middle of the night. And then right after all they searched his apartment or whatnot, he ends up moving out, like within a couple of days after.
Kaylee also shared some intriguing information that she was
Where's Ryan at, bro? Contact that fool. Get his story.
Able to get from law enforcement concerning Ryan's possible involvement and this vital element of the case.
I'm a detective. Online detective.
From the detective working on
I was getting a direct statement from the detective working on this case.
And I was just looking at it last night and I thought maybe something good to bring up. I asked a bunch of questions about Ryan specifically because I've always said from the beginning, Ryan is either the perfect setup stories involved. He had communication with her. He was one of the last people to see her.
I'm sorry for Katie Potts. If he was set up, he would be the first one to be communicating. Because rather than blaming the baby daddy, I would think Ryan was involved. That's who my attention would be. So if that boy was really set up, he would be out here like the baby daddy doing his thing, like actually trying to help find her. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he would actually be out here trying to help find her. But the fact that he's not, I'm going with the latter. He's involved.
And one of the last people she tried to make contact with also had a volatile relationship. So I've tried to ask as many questions as I can to the detective directly, and he's been very hard to get a hold of, but I know he has a lot going on. But he did tell me, we asked what his actual alibi was and if he was out of town and was he on a date. He said Ryan's alibi was able to be verified via cell phone tower records, CCTV footage, and witness interviews. Cell phone towers ping off of certain locations, and you can also leave cell phone spaces. So there are some kind of holes to that, I suppose. CCTV footage, all we know of is when Prisma was at the Olympus at Ross' apartment, which is the last place she was seen, which is also Ryan's residence at that time. And witness interviews, I mean, you can take that for what it is. There's been people will say things just to be a part of something. People will say things because they have the truth and they want to help. So it just depends on where you want to go with that. But that's what we were told specifically about him.
We couldn't have said it better ourselves than Kaylee's remarks about Ryan. That either he was involved or it was the perfect setup. Looking back into Ryan's relationship history with Prisma doesn't tell a pretty story. They initially dated in 2016, and their romance was anything but healthy. Both Prisma and Ryan moved on from their toxic relationship. Prisma dated other men, and Dan says he generally liked them and thought she might even get married. But unfortunately, in February of 2019, the dying embers of the couple's old relationship were rekindled, and they started talking once again.
Come on, bro. You just had a toxic relationship with this man 3 years ago, bro. There's plenty of guys both ways. It could go both ways. You and Ryan. There's plenty of people out here, bro. Why y'all staying? First, you got out of the relationship. You was good. You was seeing other people. That's cool. Why get back in the same toxic relationship? I don't understand. That's the shit that I don't understand with the YouTube couples and shit. They be doing this shit all the time on YouTube, bro. This shit has to be fake on YouTube. I see break up with my girl, and then two days later they're back together doing another part 2 break.
Reported that in early 2019, Ryan moved into Prisma's apartment. However, for reasons that are unclear, he soon decided to get his own place, and that's when he moved into the Olympus at Ross complex. Many theorized that their lunch date at the E-Bar restaurant was an attempt to rekindle their romance. But there were many things about this encounter that just don't add up. For starters, witnesses claim that Ryan used a fake name while at the restaurant, calling himself Matt. Kaylee asked Detective Barrett, the lead detective on the case, about this weird detail.
We were also told that he used the name Matt when he was at the bar with Prisma, and then he wore sunglasses and a hat the whole time. And I asked him that too. And he said yes, he was wearing a hat and sunglasses. But he said no witnesses that they spoke to indicated he said his name was Matt. We had heard from family and friends that when they spoke with someone who worked at the bar, that there was someone who said he was identifying himself as Matt. I don't go to the bar and just tell people my name. So it was kind of interesting to me. So that was even coming up. But he wore sunglasses and a hat the whole time he was in the bar. It kind of seemed like he was trying to hide from someone or hide his identity in some way.
With all these strange details enshrouding Ryan and Prisma's interactions that day, the final missing piece is, of course, the surveillance in and around the parking garage that could have shown authorities whether or not Ryan ever truly returned to his apartment that evening. Kaylee told us a bit
he knows the blind spots too, bro. He's not like... He knows the blind spots
more about the building's layout and security measures, including the area directly adjacent to the gate shown in the clip of Prisma darting inside the garage.
We have talked about that. There are specific locations, even from that parking garage, that you can leave. So when she's darting in, my understanding of one of the biggest places that she could have gone without being seen is almost immediately to the left. There's a hallway. From what I understand of the floor plans and everything I've seen from like Google Earth and maps and things, that hallway and that door may be secured, but it's like a secured door that I think anybody really within a certain vicinity or a certain area could get in. It's not like only one person can get in that door. That hallway will take you completely to this other door that goes outside that backs out to this driveway, and there's no footage right there.
Dan has also made many trips to the apartment building, hoping to survey the area and determine just where Prisma could have gone. We asked him if there was any surveillance footage collected from the surrounding area that could have possibly filled in any holes that the apartment complex footage left out. In other words, was there any videos from adjacent homes or businesses that showed Ryan returning or departing during the time he claims to have been out of town?
They pulled any surveillance video they could get from any houses or anything else in the area. They pulled surveillance video from the church. The cameras on the church are trained towards that entrance of that apartment building. But unfortunately, there's a row of oak trees right there that blocks most of the view. Well, the parking garage, when we first went there, they had very limited cameras that were working, like half a dozen. Now they've got a lot more. Another thing was that they say she was blocking a road. Technically, she wasn't blocking a road. It was a paved area, and it was a road at one time. But the church, that's actually church property. The church actually owns that road. Why did the vehicle sit there all night long and all the next day with all the people that move out and around that area? I mean, there's a lot of them. How did somebody not notice that Jeep beforehand or anything like that, that it was parked kind of blocking that, say, like alley entrance right there?
In the end, Dan feels frustrated because with every inch of progress in this case comes even more
I would too, not knowing what the hell happened to my daughter, bro.
questions that remain unanswered. He and the Undetected podcast team have poured much time, effort, and money into trying to obtain the case files for Prisma's disappearance. But there's only so much they've legally been allowed to access.
I have never asked them for anything. We've had to raise money for some files for the FOIA request that we were putting in, and we were trying to just get anything that they had, even a police report of her going missing, or any of the searches they did, anything. They immediately came back and said, okay, well, you owe us $523 and some change. I'm like, wait, what? For anything? I didn't think they'd come back. I've done this so many times. I didn't think they'd come back with anything, let alone, okay, we have all this information, the 11,000 or 1,100 plus pages, the 22 DVDs or whatever. And so we raised the money. Most of the family, I put in, her family put in, and then we got people from the Facebook page and stuff, and we ended up putting in for that. And then we sent a check. We were waiting. They ended up denying everything except for, it said 6 pages, but we only got 5. And they denied everything. Then they sent us the check back. So we just have it, we're just waiting. We're like, okay, so what do we do now?
You know, we try to share what we can with the detective. We were kind of shot back, so we did a Freedom of Information request for the case files and that, so we could look into it further. And that was, the state's attorney general said no.
Although they may not be getting all the answers they hoped for from authorities, Dan and Kaylee have both done some personal investigating, hoping to sniff out the truth. Dan shared his running theories with us, based on the information he's been able to accumulate so far.
Let me hear that.
In particular, we asked if he suspects Ryan of foul play.
Of course, Ryan's is on the top of my list.
Yep, I feel you, Dan. I'm with you, Dan. I'm with you.
There was another guy that I don't know too much about him. He's the one that financed the Jeep for her. He's another one that's high on my list too.
I don't know who the fuck that is. We haven't talked about him yet. Who the hell is he talking about? So I have to do my detective work.
Together, there's another little cog that hits the wheel here, and it kind of throws it off a little bit there.
We hoped Kaylee could give us some more insight into this mysterious man Dan mentioned, who apparently owned the white Jeep Prisma was driving. And what she told us makes this whole ordeal even more curious.
But then there's also something that I question, that this kind of throws a wrench into everything, because when we got the records finally for the road rage incident, we were able to confirm some information and cross-reference information we already had with who the owner of that Jeep really was. That owner of that Jeep, it wasn't in Prisma's name, which her family knew it wasn't in her name, but they weren't, at least her dad wasn't sure exactly whose name it was in.
Okay.
They just knew that she was able to drive it. Someone was helping her do that. The person that owns this vehicle, or owned it or leased it at the time, was a younger man who's been married for 10 years and had talked to Prisma 3 or 4 times, I think, in the month that she went missing. And I have on the call log, they spoke less than 24 hours before she went missing. So it's weird to me that, like, her family doesn't really know who this guy was. I've been given information that they had more of a relationship than just the vehicle.
Damn, bro, this fucking story is crazy. And
obviously, you're not just going to lease or buy a vehicle or finance a vehicle for Joe Schmo down the street or on the corner. So they had to have some kind of relationship. But it's a guy who was a little bit older than her, who kind of fit who she would normally date, but who's been married for literally 10 years. I mean, I'm thinking, okay, if I find out my husband has all of a sudden leased or bought a vehicle for some girl, I'm going to lose my cool. I mean, was there some sort of, like, something sinister going on between this guy and Prisma, or was it just a family friend that she had known for a really long time that maybe her dad just didn't know, you know?
In addition to this unnamed Jeep owner, there was also another man we were interested in learning about.
God damn, how many men?
A person who was somehow connected to Prisma. The man she had been talking to on the phone outside of the elevator right before she vanished.
Okay.
A YouTuber.
Hey yo, YouTuber. Hey yo! But that should have been. I'm all over with this #1 suspect shit, bro. First it was Ryan, then this Jeep dude, now the dude that's on the phone. Why wasn't the dude on the phone contacted 30 minutes ago?
By the channel name Gray Hughes Investigates, did an exclusive interview with this very person.
Can I see his face?
A man named Chris.
Chris!
What Chris shared added another fascinating element to the case. He said that during those final conversations, Prisma seemed to not know who she was calling. He explained, quote, "All I know is that when she did call, honestly, she wasn't making any sense. She thought I was somebody else. She called me a different name." He went on to say, "I don't know if she dialed me by accident or what. She was very frantic, very annoyed, very pissed off. I guess she was looking for that guy at the apartment that she was at."
Ryan.
Hughes clarified at this point in the interview if Chris was referring to Ryan. He said yes. Chris says that Prisma must have been trying to call Ryan because she kept saying that name and asking what room number was his. What Chris shared was very telling, and the full interview can be found on Hughes's channel.
Ryan back
In addition to the fact that Prisma was last seen at Ryan's apartment complex, it is also hard to explain what was going on with that weird extended lunch meeting and her strange behavior after. Kaylee and Dan feel that, whether Ryan was involved or not, Prisma may have been drugged at the E-Bar restaurant.
That's what I'm saying. She acting a little different, bruh. She's not acting normal. Oh, fuck. But she's not acting normal,
one thing,
bro.
because from the understanding of her actions while she was there, and then her actions from the last witness that we could locate that actually saw her at the apartments, it all sounds as if that's the only thing that, you know, a rational person can really think of. That bar had kind of a reputation of that bar restaurant type thing, but then there was, in that general area, that's happened to several other young women in that same area.
At the bar, at E-Bar, people get roofied in that area quite frequently. It's not just that bar, it's that area.
Okay, that makes sense. If she's acting weird, okay, that makes a lot of sense. Damn.
And there's a lot of people that I've talked to that will avoid it at all costs because they're afraid of what might happen to them or the people that they know. And they think it's much greater than just, you know, a Ryan or a somebody else. They think it's deeper inside of, you know, either the bar or the location. Again, I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but I've talked to a lot of people who have said they have accounts of people being roofied there and people being assaulted after they left there and not even remembering what happened.
What's that bar then? I'm sorry, but like, I'm not going in that area, but I'm not trying to. Hey, if I was a female, I'm not trying to get drugged, you know. Even as a male, but like females is the main target. Like I would not go to any bar that's been drugged, that people get drugged at.
Happened to them after they left that bar.
Dan emphasized that Prisma's behavior following that lunch meeting was not at all normal for the stepdaughter he knew.
That's what I'm saying.
She was very responsible. She said, you know, she actually knew if you're going to pull a gun, you're going to use it. And she was very respectful about that. The only thing I can think of is something like that. Either she might have been scared. That I just can't answer. But that is very much out of her mindset to do something like that.
For her to be acting in that way, that's not her. And she's former military. She is someone who always respected her gun. It wasn't just a toy to her. She had just purchased it about a month before she went missing. And come to find out, not that long ago, she purchased that weapon because she was afraid she was being followed or stalked. So when we were able to confirm that was her, it kind of took everybody by surprise. She never acted the way that she did by pulling out a gun or ever threatening anybody, ever getting out of a car.
So she thought she was getting stalked and shit. Okay, I understand the paranoia now.
I mean, there's literally witness accounts saying she got out of the car, was yelling, and held up the gun, and was confronting some of these people that I don't even know why. It was just this random altercation.
Later, as Prisma drove away from the road rage altercation, Kaylee says that something must have happened to change her mind. Perhaps a call that could have involved Ryan.
During that time, she abruptly just kind of turned her, the direction that she was going. I've mapped it out, and I almost think she was trying to go back to her work. But she also was on the phone around that time, I think, which was never really known before, because what we have the information from months ago that she got in this road rage incident right before she would have hit I-30 in the ramp to get on I-30. And I received a few months ago information that tells me that she went past I-30 and she was seen turning on different streets, at least one or two different streets at multiple different intersections that take her out of the direction we originally thought that she went, which would take extra time. So everything that we thought, according to her timeline and her calls, they started to make more sense when we were plotting them out, because it seems like when she started going back to either her work or that direction, she made a call or received a call. And at that almost very moment, she turned back the other direction.
We may never know what truly caused Prisma to double back and head to Ryan's apartment that day. But Dan did share that he observed some trademark signs of agitation in his daughter when he watched the footage of her standing outside the elevator. Some theorists have pointed out how she walks aimlessly from side to side and leans on the walls, one knee even buckling at a point in the clip. Was she under the influence of a drug? Or was she simply nervous for some reason?
Yeah, whenever she got perturbed, disturbed,
I'm gonna say she was drugged, the way she'd been acting.
mad or angry, her arm would start to flail back and forth a bit. You know, she would, and that's what she was doing there, you know, and then she was trying to say something to somebody or something like that, and somebody says something and she knows it's not the truth, she'll just kind of chuckle it off like, yeah, right. Because who else knows better than anybody else? To me, what looks like normal actions to you or I, her father, her mother, her brother, or somebody else would know that something was wrong, and that was one of her tells that something was disturbing her, bothering her, or something.
Kaylee said she's also observed these nervous tics that Prisma was displaying.
She might be nervous or frustrated. That's how she acts. And so when you put it all together, something wasn't right. Whether it was she was afraid of something. I go back to a month prior to her going missing. Something happened with her buying the gun a month prior. She was afraid she was being followed. She had 4 tires slashed, is my understanding, by someone shortly before.
She had 4 tires slashed. What the fuck? The 4 tires out of everyone? Your tires 4 times? Nah. I understand. I understand the paranoia, but getting out the car, like, she was acting different, but I understand the paranoia though.
Some of her family didn't even know that she had done that. She had been part of her job.
That's months time. She had some changes in her job. So.
that she was at the time. So there's just so many things that play into it. When you add stress and anxiety,
I'm assuming they still don't know what's happening to her.
I don't want to try and like cancel that out.
I don't think they'll ever find out what actually. That's the sad part. I don't know if they'll ever find out what the hell happened to her, bro. This gonna be.
Absolutely, but there was definitely something that was interfering with her normal.
Whatever the source of stress or agitation was, almost everyone close to this case can agree that Prisma didn't appear to be entirely herself that day. As for Ryan,
I hope not. The way she was acting on that road rage. So I'm assuming she was drugged, like I said, because she was acting crazy.
Kaylee says that although the police have looked into him as a potential suspect, there's only so much they can do.
I can actually give you another one of their exact statements. We have been inside his apartment, and his vehicle was searched with his consent. I don't know. I mean, there's only so much that you can do. I know that they searched with dogs. I think at least one of them was a cadaver dog. They've done numerous searches. They went door to door in the apartment complex.
Although Kaylee has her suspicions, the last thing she wants to do is accuse an innocent person without evidence to back it up.
So I don't want, to place any kind of blame on anybody that doesn't deserve it. I'm sure you can understand that. But he is definitely high up on that. Like, if I were to give you 3 scenarios, it's either something that he is involved in, something that happened to her based on somebody else that she is involved with or knows, or it is a crime of, I guess, just her availability of where she was, her location, and all the things going on in Dallas right now. You have Mercedes Clemens, you have Maricela Botello. They both look so much like Prisma. They both just disappeared. So it's almost like there is something much bigger and much greater going on in that area, which is definitely a possibility too.
With no concrete proof to implicate any of the suspects,
some other people are going disappearing in the area too recent, or whenever this be. Damn. Yeah, there's definitely some greater going on in that area. Like, what the hell? In that area, 2 other women got this.
Have theorized that Prisma made the decision to end her own life.
Oh, yo.
But her family adamantly made.
But they would have seen the body. Like, she wouldn't. She's hidden somewhere. Like, the body, you can't. Like, where's the body at?
Prisma made the decision to end the suspects. Some have theorized that Prisma made the decision to end her own life. But her family adamantly maintains that she was not depressed and would never have left behind her young son. In addition, they say that she had easy access to her gun, which was found in her Jeep. If she really wanted to end her life, they argue, she would have just used that weapon. They also said that Prisma had no history of alcohol abuse or problems with drugs, and that her mental health was stable. They've thought through every possibility, but nothing seems to make any sense. All the same, Dan says that great resources were allocated into finding Prisma almost right after she was reported missing, which he found noteworthy. As often, it can take a while for someone to even be reported missing, let alone the authorities going full force to look for that person.
Was when all this happened, I was contacted by an agent from the FBI. She wanted to talk about they were looking into it too. So that was making me lead, towards something that might be something more than what we think it is or something like that, because why would the FBI be interested in a case like this? And then another thing, when that happened, then another thing that came up was all the resources that they brought in to begin with. They set up a mobile command across in a church parking lot across from the apartment building. They had Texas Rangers there.
That's wild.
Triggered them to respond so quickly within a matter of a couple of hours for somebody disappeared?
Dan has said that nothing much has come from the FBI agent he mentioned, or at least nothing that he has been informed of. Dan says they provided that investigator with one of Prisma's old phones that her son liked to play games on. But even though it was taken in and scoured for any helpful information, it was shortly returned back to Dan with no leads to speak of. And that was it. Dan says the FBI agent may have been limited in what she could disclose to him or the family. But all the same, that lead for now is a dead end.
I've just got so many unanswered questions that the only person that can answer is her.
Both Dan and Kaylee have also considered the possibility that Prisma may be the victim of human trafficking or even gang activity.
I mean, we've been looking into gang affiliation and some of those things. That one gives me hope. I'll be honest, if she's being trafficked, she might be alive. And then,
But dude, trafficking, I mean, when they're just like pretty much using it like as a slave or something. I don't want to say that word, but like traffic. Like, what is trafficking? What is human trafficking? That's sexual slavery. That's a forced labor, commercial sexual. Like, I don't know, man. She been there for 2 years. That's gotta be the worst 2 years of her life. I'm pretty sure she would rather be dead than go through that type of shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, she can come back from that if you find her, but if you don't, like, it's already been 2 years. It's been 4 years now. Hopefully, they found her by now. But it's been this video dropped 2 years ago. I wonder if
it gives me hope. It almost gives me the chills, to be honest. If she's being trafficked, like, that would be one hell of a couple of years that she's been through. But she might be alive. I've never been convinced that she's deceased, honestly, and that this is the one. Normally, I look at a case, I get information, and within an hour, I'm like, unfortunately, they're not going to be found alive. I've never, like, 100% felt that with her.
Yeah, I do believe something as far as that goes. She, come to find out here, too, another thing she was doing also, she was working as an exotic dancer. So she may have gotten involved into something in that somehow or something.
Dan says that in the time since Prisma went missing, many people have reached out to him with theories, but for the most part, he's already heard of or looked into every possibility he's been pitched. One such idea involves possible witness relocation, but Dan isn't buying that option. He asserts that Prisma would have never left behind her beloved son unless the circumstances were so extreme that she had to make a drastic split-second decision and had no other choice. Despite all the fruitless leads he's been sent, he does remember a particularly haunting encounter he had with a young woman who made a bold claim.
The strangest thing that's ever happened, I delivered a mobile home from down here in Burleson, Texas, which is south of Fort Worth, to just north of Salt Lake City, Utah. I was supposed to pull into the front of the park. Well, I missed my turn because I didn't see the sign. So I had to go to the next road. I had to come into their back entrance. But there was a young lady there, but she came from the front of the park, which is probably 2 football fields away, looking straight at the dead front of my truck, because I got signs on the side of my truck saying about Prisma being missing. She just looked at me straight out and pointed her finger straight at me and said, "The young lady you were looking for is still alive." Where I drove in front of the park, you couldn't see. It's a lot of information on.
Hey, yo, what the fuck does that mean? That what? Shorty, what is you talking about? What is you talking about?
There, and how would she, associated straight to me? But it was really, really strange that she said that. And she says she'll be back, but she won't be the same when she comes back.
Hey, yo, we gonna just let her say that shit and walk away? Nah, hey, I'm sorry, I gotta do what I gotta do to find my daughter. Hey, you coming with me? I'm just kidding.
Lady disappeared, and I asked the manager about it. She said, "Oh yeah, she's some kind of psychic medium person or something like that. She does all that." She says she tells people things all the time. And it's really strange, but it's true.
Dan has asserted that he'll never give up the search for Prisma.
I mean, the
understandable,
more that stays out there,
but
I mean, I'll interview from now to the day I die. Because that means that it's out there in the public more and more people are starting to find out about it and hear about it. The biggest thing I hope for is the one person that knows where she's at or what happened or what transpired that day or whatever will step forward. Even Detective Barrett said this on numerous occasions. I need the one key piece. It's like he's got everything put together, but it's like a big Jenga puzzle, and he needs that one piece to put in there to hold everything up. And I'm still jet set and dedicated on trying to find her. I want to know where my daughter's at.
Prisma is approximately 5 foot 2 inches and about 135 pounds. She has brunette hair and brown eyes. She was last seen wearing a red polo shirt and blue jeans. If you have any information that you think may help the investigation, there are a few ways you can get in contact with the right people. The Where is Prisma Reyes Facebook page is run by Kaylee and monitored by Prisma's family. And the hashtag #FindPrisma is still active on social media.
Detective Dustin Barrett is the lead detective on this case. You can reach him. He's with Mesquite Police.
4 years later, search for her continues. April 17th. There's no pending or active. I'm telling you, bruh. If she is getting human trafficked, bro, that shit, I know she would rather be dead, bro. 4 years later, she's going through some shit like that, bro. Yeah. Like, 4 years later, you still, bro, that is why, that is scary. That is more scary than wow. Like, that's scary. Like, you don't even know what the fuck happened. That's just 4 years ago. That's 2019, bro, with all these cameras and shit. Like, this ain't like 2006, 2005 when there's not many cameras around. There's 2019 when there's cameras everywhere and you still don't know what the fuck happened to her, bro. That shit is scary.
And his number is 972-285-6336.
That person probably watching the video not right now. But that dude's probably, whoever did whatever the fuck they did, it's like, bro, they're just living life while she over there.
One thing I don't know where she's going, what she's going through, been through. If you think she looks familiar, check out all of the pictures that we have of Prisma up there, because I can't tell you how many people say, whoa, is that the same girl? She had a ton of different looks. She loved to be all dolled up, but she also had a very, natural, just herself kind of look. Like, the things that are going to stay the same, their height is going to be very similar. She's 5'2", so she's on the shorter side. That's not going to change. When people are being trafficked, they're usually being drugged, and drugs can do a lot of things to you, and they can make you look completely different. They can make your eyes look heavy. They can make you look like you haven't slept in days. So if you even remotely think that you have seen Prisma, please do that double check, that triple check. If you have seen anything about her or even heard something, there are anonymous links you can go to on that page. Scroll down, there is a Google form you can fill out completely anonymously. It goes directly to our team, and anything that we get that needs to be looked into, we send over to we send over to Detective Barrett with the PD.
In April of 2021, the 2-year anniversary of Prisma's disappearance will come to pass. It is the wish of Dan, Kaylee, and everyone close to
2 years after that, it's been 4 years now. God damn.
This case that this will be the year when answers or justice can finally be brought to light for.
The fuck? This is, what's the update? Update from 2 years ago. Okay, she's still missing. Damn, bro, that's gonna do it for that video. If you enjoyed that, subscribe. I wrote 2K, join the family, was stupid going dummy, man. But like, that shit is mind blowing. See it right here, mind blowing, bro. Like I said, bro, that's more scary than anything, bro. For someone to disappear nowadays, like, and there are no answers, bro. It's been 4 years, not even a single lead. Like, they said they have no lead at this point. 4 years later, like, oh my god, she could be anywhere. Like, if she getting like trafficked or whatever, human trafficking, whatever that is, it's like, bro, that shit tough, bro. She probably holding out hope that one day they'll find her. Dan is, of course, hoping for hope, but it's like, bro, I hope they find something that happened, bro. Like, hopefully they do find her. They find if she is killed, her body or something, man. Cause this is crazy and scary, like I said. But Road 2K, man, if y'all still here an hour, 10 minutes later, I doubt it.